Hey everyone, today I'm going to be talking a little bit about On the Waterfront. It's a 1954 film starring Marlon Brando. It's really just an iconic performance by Brando all around. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. On the waterfront. So, the mob controls the waterfront. It controls the shipping, the ships going in and out. It gets a cut of everyone's pay there. They get to control who works, who doesn't work. Terry Malloy, our main character, he is kind of in with the mob, but he also has a little bit of a softer side. You could see, he cares for pigeons. He just has a generally all around, he's just a little bit more caring than anyone in the mob. That's where I want to start out. The good in this film, there's a lot of good in this film, but mostly I want to talk about Marlon Brando as Terry Malloy. Now it might be the best performance of all time. You hear today about method method actors. That sort of all started with Marlon Brando in this film. And he portrays the character not as a character in a film, but as a real person. He becomes Terry Malloy. And just the little things he adds to the character, he's a little bit nervous, he's a little bit fidgety, but he's just an all-around charming guy. And it's really just one of the best performances you'll ever see, because especially later on in the film, you'll be able to see he's sort of being pulled between these two lives. He wants to do the right thing. He's talking to the priest. The priest wants him to stand up for the other people on the waterfront, but also his brother is in the mob. He's connected to the boss, and you can see in this film he's being pulled between the light and the dark. And it's very well portrayed throughout the film. Just going along with the characters, all the characters, they're real characters. They have flaws, Terry Malloy, he's not portrayed as some perfect guy, he has flaws. The priest, he'll smoke a cigarette, he asks for a beer later in the film. No one's perfect in this movie. It really makes it feel real. I also want to get to the chemistry between Terry and Edie. It was fine. The chemistry was fine. It's not the best I've ever seen, but it's a very suitable, it's a good love story. All the acting all around is great. All the acting is great. A couple scenes that stood out to me, of course, you have the famous car scene. If you don't know what I'm talking about, watch the movie. It's great. You can feel the pain inside of Terry's heart as he talks about, what he's done in the past, what he didn't do in the past, his brother, his relationship with his brother. You can just feel it. It just comes out. It pours out of the screen. The final scene, just super powerful. It's a great final scene. The music. I also want to talk about the music a little bit too. The beginning, the opening of the film. As the opening credits were rolling, the music really just pulls you in. The directing is great in this movie. You get a couple wide establishing shots. One long take in particular stood out to me. Just a really well-directed film in general. So now I want to move on to a little bit of the weaker aspects of the film, and there's not much. There's actually just one thing that I'm not a huge fan of, and I love everything else. Terry and Edie, they have a fight. They need to reunite the characters, right? And she's really upset with him. She doesn't want to talk to him. The way they reunite the characters, the way they make it all okay again, I wasn't the biggest fan of that. That's the only gripe I have with it, is that part was a little bit forced. The main takeaway I have from this film is it's sort of the priest said one night something like this to Terry. He said something along the lines of, how much is your life really worth if you don't do the right thing? And he didn't say that exactly, but that's really the takeaway I get from this film. It's all about doing the right thing. It's all about standing up for people who won't stand up for themselves or can't stand up for themselves. So overall, I'm going to rate this film 4.5 out of 5 stars, because there's that one thing that bothers me just a little bit. But other than that, great film, 4.5 out of 5 stars. You got to see it if you haven't seen it. Thanks for watching. If you stayed this long, stick around. I'll be putting out more content soon, hopefully, talking about more classic films. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks.